Hi, I'm Brian Garman, the Artistic Director and co-founder of Berkshire Opera Festival. And this is OperaLens, our new online series where we take a look at our upcoming season and at all things BOF. I'm just thrilled today to be able to speak with not one, but two members of our incredible Falstaff cast. They're both making their debuts with Berkshire Opera Festival this summer, and they'll be chatting with me today about their lives and careers, as well as the roles of the young lovers, Nanetta and Fenton, whom they will be playing in Verdi's comic masterpiece. So it's my pleasure to introduce soprano Jasmine Habersham and tenor Jonas Hacker. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely, thanks.
So where are you coming to us from today?
I'm currently in Macon, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I am visiting my parents in Wisconsin for a week.
I see. You're in very rustic surroundings.
Yes, the log cabin I grew up in.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, since you're both making debuts with us in Falstaff, as I mentioned, many of our audience might not know much yet about your backgrounds. So I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about it. Jasmine, do you come from a musical family?
I do come from a very musical family. I grew up with my parents playing as musicians in the church, and I also sang in the choir. So I have a very, I don't want to say eclectic, but like gospel. I grew up listening to a lot of jazz. Yeah, just a whole variety of different styles. Even musical theater, that was something that my mom introduced me to. So it's kind of always been around me. And I started piano around like age 6 or 7. And then I also was in high school band and I started singing when I was around like 15, 16 when I was high school. So
I see. I see. How about you, Jonas? When did you discover that you had this great voice?
Kind of a similar story. A very musical family. My mom studied French horn in college, and my dad has sung his entire life. He wanted to be a choir teacher for a while, and he's an incredible tenor and plays guitar. And they're the ones who kind of introduced me to classical music when I was young. And so kind of same thing. Dad was involved in music in church, and then I got involved in choir in middle school and high school, and it just kind of took off from there. And funny, my dad's a tenor, and his two brothers are also tenors. So I was.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Aside from family members, do either of you have any particularly special musical influences, either when you were growing up or early in your career? Or
oh yeah, I'm a huge Audra McDonald fan.
uh-huh.
I love everything about her storytelling and granted, like I draw from different styles as far as how people interpret. So I love Nina Simone, Nancy Wilson, Franny, of course. It's a whole. I listen to a lot of different people, but yeah, those are some of my musical influences that help me like create like the sound as far as communicating it out.
I see. Nina Simone, also a really outstanding pianist.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, in any event, I think you're both certainly doing a lot of things right, because you're having important careers, not just here in the States, but internationally as well. I know that, like so many of us, you had a lot of engagements canceled this past year plus. But are your schedules filling up quickly again now that we're getting back to something more normal?
Yes, it's starting to. So my next gig is in Des Moines in a week, which I'm so excited for. It's my first real opera gig in over a year.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a little nervous, but I'm so excited to be back at it. And then I go to the Berkshires, and then the thing that has kind of really helped me get through the pandemic personally was that I'm going to be part of the ensemble in Munich. And so I moved to Germany in September. And so I've known about it for a couple of years. And so that's just been sort of that light at the end of the tunnel, you know? So a few really great things coming up.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Jasmine, you were just in Seattle, were you not? But not
Yeah.
for a live performance, is that correct?
Yes, I was in Seattle to do a film of Don Giovanni. So
Uh-huh.
I think Zerlina. And so that was a different experience. First of all, I'd never done a film before. So that was interesting, you know, like we would stop and then have to do the same thing over and over again, but from a different angle. And I needed to make sure I had my like purse and flowers in the same spot.
Right.
It was definitely different. But yeah, I was just recently there and I loved working there. And then also it was kind of course, I lost work in the beginning of the pandemic, but also I had the amazing opportunity of being a part of the Atlanta Opera Company Players.
Uh-huh.
I sang the girl in Der Kaiser von Atlantis. And also, I just got finished singing Micaela and Carmen. So I was able to do that during this, and it's been an amazing opportunity for me. Also, singing in mask, which is live performances in mask, you know, under the big tent. That was a huge adjustment for me, but
Sure.
figured it out. And then I think people were, you know, really craving to see art, and it was a really cool experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to shift our focus to Falstaff now and talk about these lovers that you're portraying in the opera. Is this your first time with these characters?
Yes, for me it is. Yeah.
Same here, yes.
Uh-huh. Is this your first Verdi role for
Yeah.
either of you?
Yes.
It's not. I sang Bardolfo was my first role in grad school.
Uh-huh.
And so now I finally get to do Fenton, and then my first role in Munich is Caius. So
Oh, well,
I'll have
so
done
you're
all the tenors.
covering all the bases. Well,
Yeah.
I think you'll both find Verdi is a pretty great place to be. And to me, it's clear how much Verdi loved your characters, and I think that he gives them some of the most interesting writing in the whole piece. Jonas, can you tell us a little bit about Fenton? What makes him tick?
So Fenton is a very sought after bachelor, and he was kind of a wild guy and sort of lost most of his money. And so the original reason he pursues Nanetta is because he's sort of down and out. You know, he needs money. But then it sort of takes a twist, and he falls in love with her. And the play has some really interesting descriptions about him. They say he's, you know, a good dancer. He writes poetry. He smells nice. It's like a very interesting thing to put in the play, like, you know, and then he has a wart above one eye. And so he's interesting. He's not like your typical lover, I think, because he had sort of a wild past. And I think there's kind of a little more fire to him than your typical romantic lead. So I think that's what I really find interesting about him. And the wart.
Yeah, well, the wart would go without saying. How about you, Jasmine? What do you find intriguing about Nanetta?
You know, I find intriguing some of the, you know, when Fenton and Nanetta are kind of interacting. I think there's a lot of times where she's kind of like, you're doing too much, you know? And so but she's like, she succumbs to being in love with him. So I think in a sense, I don't think that she initially wants to admit, but she's, you know, of course, fallen in love. And I also love how her character in the planning and scheming of things is very like active in, in the you know role of getting Falstaff back. So I think she's a really perky and interesting character. Yeah.
Yeah, and becomes the stage manager basically of the whole show in the last scene. Do either of you find that these roles pose any specific challenges for you, either vocally or interpretatively?
You know, not really. I think it's some of the most beautiful music, especially with it is just like gorgeous. So I love that kind of singing where especially it can, you know, of course float stuff and to do it with Jonas is gonna be amazing. Um yeah, and not any major vocal challenges. I will say the ensembles have been difficult as far
Sure,
as
sure.
Yes.
all of the words, but other than that, it's such sublime music.
I think you both really have the voices to do it. I feel like these roles are often miscast. You know, in the case of Fenton, for example, if you look at the finale of the first act, you know, the women are singing this staccato idea and all the men are singing something else, and you have a different lyrical line that has to soar over top of this. To me, it's like the big trio from the third act of Don Carlo. You know, Abel and Rodrigo are singing to each other, and Carlo has this line on top with the big orchestra. So I think, you know, clearly Verdi didn't want a pipsqueak here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, Nanetta, similarly, if you look at the final scene, we were just talking about where you're conjuring all of the spirits. You have to do a variety of things. You know, you have to be able to sing with a transparency and delicacy in some bars, and then in others to command this vast array of vocal colors. It makes it very different from something like Oscar and Ballo in Maschera, for example. Yeah. Who kind of only has one thing to do all night, right?
Right.
Yeah. Have you guys sung together before, or is this your first show that you'll be doing together?
So the only thing I can remember is we were at Central City together and Glimmerglass.
Yes. But I don't think we sang together.
No, we haven't. But we were in Macbeth in the chorus.
Yes.
Yes.
And we lived together.
And you live together. Perfect. Well, I hope this will be a great reunion.
Yes.
We're nearing the end of our time today, but before we go, I have to ask, have either of you been to the Berkshires before?
Never.
This is my first time.
Oh, well, I hope you'll love your time there. It's certainly a magical and incredibly beautiful place. And thank goodness it'll be alive with music again this summer.
Yes.
Jasmine, Jonas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you all in the flesh very soon.
Same.
And as a reminder to everyone at home, you can learn more about our upcoming season by visiting our website, which is berkshireoperafestival.org, and by subscribing to our YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode of OperaLens.